how crazy is this Tyreek Hill story? I don't know how many people saw this, but Tyreek Hill Sunday driving a McLaren, which is a really fast sports car, is headed to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. He is speeding in a restricted area with light traffic. And this is really important, the minutia, the details. Well, it's where the important parts of this conversation are going to lie, unfortunately. So Tyreek Hill is speeding, allegedly doing 60 plus miles an hour. He is allegedly not wearing a seatbelt. 2 motorcycle officers pull him over about a mile from Hard Rock Stadium. Tyreek Hill initially complies, rolls his window down, gives the police officers his license and registration, and then this is where things got off the rail, because he gives them his license and registration and rolls his window up, which a lot of people are saying, well, you can't roll your window up when your windows are illegally tinted. His windows were not illegally tinted. I think it's important that we get the facts of this situation right, because it is a very difficult and volatile situation. Tyreek rolled his window up and the cop started knocking on his car window. Then Tyreek rolled the window down and said, hey, I don't want people seeing it's me. It's people are going to start taking pictures. He was worried it was going to escalate, which now we know probably was the least of his concerns. He rolled his window back up. They knocked on his window again. He told them, hey, I'm not rolling my window down. Don't tell me what to do. The cop said to him, if you don't roll your window down, I'm going to pull you out of the car. A second motor officer walked up to the window at that point and got very aggressive with Tyreek, told him if he didn't roll the window down, he was going to break the effing thing. Tyreek then rolled the window down, then opened the door because they told him to get out of the car. And this is where I don't understand what the cops were doing. For some perspective, you're a mile away from Hard Rock Stadium on a Sunday with a Dolphins home game. You know damn well who you're dealing with because he already gave you his license and registration. Have you no perspective? He has posed no threat to you. So when he opens his car door at your request to get out of the car, you reach in and you physically rip him out of the car and throw him on the ground. This is where I don't understand why this situation went that way. I truly don't get it. Tyreek Hill, was he mouthy? Yes, he was. Did he help himself in this case? No, he did not. Did he deserve to be ripped out of his car, thrown on the ground, handcuffed, and then when they wanted him to sit on the curb and he tried to explain that he had a knee injury, that they put a billy club around his chest and neck and forced him to the ground? No, he did not deserve that. And we get into this situation now where we're not going to be talking about Tyreek Hill, the football player. We're going to be talking about Tyreek Hill, the black man who's battling the Miami Dade Police. And unfortunately, I think that this is going to end poorly for the police. The officer that was very aggressive in this case has already been put on administrative duty. There is a pending investigation, and I think it looks bad for the officer that has been put on administrative duty because they already released the video, the body cam footage from this incident, which is a record. This is as fast as I have ever seen body cam footage be released. It was about 24 hours later that they released it. This is a bit of a longer clip, but I really think it's important that you see, but more importantly, that you hear the interaction between the police and Tyreek Hill.
Was there speeding? Move forward. Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man. Don't knock on
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window like that, no.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here.
Don't knock
That
on
way you
my
can
window.
lower it and talk to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it down. Hey! Keep your window down. Hey, keep your window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Give me that.
Get out of the car.
Give me that. I'm gonna break that freaking window.
Get out of the car.
I'm finna get out.
Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out.
Get out. Get out. Get out. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out.
You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you.
I'm getting
You're a little
out.
fucking confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too
bro.
late.
All right, bro. Take
Too
me to
late.
jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey, hey,
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
bro. Y'all,
Don't move.
good. Bro, you
Set 'em
beating
up.
on my window like you crazy.
You set him up.
Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for? Damn, yo. Call Drew. I'm in the car.
You gotta go before you get a ticket.
I'm not driving.
Who's the driver?
This is my car.
All right, move.
All right, I'll take that.
You gotta move right now.
I'm coming, man.
Let me have your license. You're gonna ticket too.
I'm coming.
Let me have your license. You're gonna ticket. Let me have your license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your
I'm
license.
leaving. Yo, what's
Your
going
license
on?
right now.
Yo, what's going on,
Your license
man?
right now. You're not gonna give me your license?
Hey,
You're not gonna give me your license?
I'm leaving.
Let me have your
I'm
license.
leaving,
Your
man.
license
I'm
right now.
leaving, sir. You want me to
Hey,
leave?
your license right now.
I'm leaving.
Or I'm gonna lock you
He
up.
just told
Your
me to
license
leave.
right now.
He just told me to
Your
leave.
license right now.
Sir, he just-
You're dealing with me now.
Sir.
Your license right now.
What are we doing here? This is a really difficult job. Being a police officer in this country is a really difficult job. I have no idea what they're doing because that's not being a police officer. And being that aggressive, holding handcuffs in your hand and threatening people, the physical altercation with Tyreek Hill, grabbing him around the neck. I thought it was a Billy. That was the guy's arm. Grabbing him around the neck like that, forcibly putting him on the ground when he's trying to explain to you, hey, I just had knee surgery. And then the worst part is you didn't arrest him. You did not arrest him. You didn't take him to jail. He committed this egregious offense and you didn't arrest him.
Mm-hmm.
But you physically yanked him out of the car. You're kneeling on his lower back. I have no idea what they're doing here.
Well, and I just think that they had multiple opportunities to de-escalate the situation. I mean, so these are motorcycle cops. They roll up on his left and they say, hey, you were speeding, pull over. So he pulls over. Then they tell him to pull forward, which, happens in some situations out on the road. Sometimes the cops need you to pull into a safer spot, a more suitable spot to conduct the traffic stop. So at that point, I didn't really have too much of a problem with what the cops were doing. But then, this whole knocking on the window thing and sort of creating this animosity is to me what set the whole situation off, because they're knocking on the window. And in the video, if you watch closely, to your point, the cop already has Tyreek's ID in his left hand. You can see it waving around in the video as he's using his hand.
Tyreek Hill, according to Tyreek and his attorneys, and I think the video clearly shows this, Tyreek Hill complied with every lawful order from the police. When they told him, hey, driver's license and registration, he gave it to him. When they told him, get out of the car, he took his seatbelt off, which he had put on, because he got a ticket for speeding and not wearing a seatbelt. He had put his seatbelt on. When they told him to get out of the car, you can see him through the window, take off his seatbelt, and he opened the car. He opened the car door, and you can see that where I part from the police here is their physically aggressive behavior. There's just no reason for it. And the funny thing is, this window knocking thing, it is not illegal for him to not roll his window down. It is not tinted. You can see through it, and I'll play the video again so that you can see this.
Because you're speeding.
And what you're seeing here is he was actually pulled off right here. People said he tried to run away. He never tried to run away. He simply did what he was told to do, which was to pull up and pull over.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt
Knock
on?
on my window like that, though.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm
He's got
here.
Tyreek's
Now we can
license
lower it
in
and
his
talk
hand.
to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang.
Right there should have been over.
He should have just walked away and written the ticket.
Keep it down. Hey,
And look, you can
Keep your
see,
window
notice
down.
you can look right through the window.
Yeah, so it's not illegally
And there he is putting on his seatbelt.
Yeah.
hey. Keep your window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Yeah,
Get out of the car.
takes it.
Break that freaking window.
Get out of the car.
I'm finna get out.
And
Get out
then
of the
right
car
there,
right now.
the other cop
We're
said,
not
if you
playing
don't
this
roll
game.
it down,
Get
I'm going to
out.
break the
Get
effing
out.
window.
Get out.
Here for people to understand, a lot of people don't seem to get this. I am not physically capable of getting in and out of a McLaren. Because when you're in a McLaren, you are sitting below the frame rail. So it is not easy to just swing your legs over and get out of that car. So people are like, he wouldn't get out of the car. You could clearly see him trying to get out of the car. And I think people don't understand that it's not an SUV where you can just put your leg out.
Well, not only that, I mean, the seats in most of these kind of cars, like McLarens or higher end cars, they have bolsters. So you're sitting in a bucket seat below the frame of the car. So it holds you in. So if you're driving the car fast, you're not flying all over the place. And it literally makes it hard to get in and out of the vehicle. And I guess the biggest thing here, because the video doesn't support the cops at all, obviously, but
which is a huge problem.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is just a lack of perspective in the moment. Like you said, like they know who Tyreek Hill is. Everybody knows who Tyreek Hill is. It's very clear.
It's
this
Sunday.
is Tyreek Hill, bro.
It is Sunday. You are detailed to stadium duty. So you are there for traffic flow and control as fans enter the Hard Rock Stadium parking areas. You know what day of the week it is. As soon as he handed you his license and registration, and he said to you, I don't want, he told the cop, and I would encourage you, get online, watch the entire unedited body cam footage. He tells the cop, I don't want people taking my picture. He's getting a ticket, which is why he claims he rolled the window up. It's not unlawful or illegal to roll the window up. What should have happened is when he handed you the license and registration, you should have walked away and written him the ticket, because he said, write me the ticket. Do what you got to do, man. I'm going to be late. You should have walked away and written him the ticket.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. Now, I would have handled it differently. I would have left my window down, but I'm not a wide receiver for the Dolphins. I'm not somebody famous. And I understand him not wanting to leave the window down. I also understand that people want to make this into an officer safety issue. Did the officer ever back away like, oh, I can't see what he's doing? He didn't. He got more aggressive.
Well, and it just starts right away when he walks up to the car. I mean, the interaction of the cop saying to him repeatedly, why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Like, you're not talking to him. You're chirping at him. You're instigating hostility in the conversation. And Tyreek Hill at that moment in the video is also doing something similar. And so it's like, I'm not saying Tyreek is 100%, blameless here.
He's not.
I'm just telling you, man, like rolling your window up like that. I understand his reasoning, but it's not going to help the situation. Like you didn't do yourself any favors early on in this interaction, but Tyreek Hill's liability ends when they rip him out of the car senselessly and needlessly. And that's what I don't get.
I don't understand in this day and age to treat Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith the way that you did. I mean, Calais Campbell is an NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year. He never raised his voice according to the body cam footage. He was simply asking what the situation was. And then to handcuff him and detain him, it's wild to me. It's wild to me. This situation never had to happen. And again, I'm not telling you that Tyreek Hill is blameless, but he clearly, in my opinion, his biggest mistake was he clearly mouthed off at the cops. That is no reason to physically rip him out of a car when he was already getting out of the car. And then to to physically put him on the ground when he's trying to explain to you that he has a knee issue. And I love everybody. I love all the idiots being like, oh, well, his knee looked fine during the game. What has that got to do with anything involved in this situation? What has that got to do with anything? He is explaining to the cop, hey, I had knee surgery. He's clearly trying to tell them, with himself handcuffed, mind you. Do you know how hard it is to sit yourself down when you're handcuffed?
Difficult.
So the guy doesn't even give him a chance to sit down, wraps his arm around his neck and puts him on the curb. There's no justification for that.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. And I don't understand why we continue to find ourselves in these situations. And I think it is wild to me that it's Sunday afternoon outside of an NFL stadium and you're physically, in my opinion, you're physically assaulting an NFL player outside of an NFL stadium.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to end well for you? A guy who was never a threat to you, a guy who did not have guns, drugs, or paraphernalia in his car, a guy that, yeah, was he mouthy? Absolutely, he was mouthy. No doubt about it. None of those things justify what these cops did.
Yeah, I just don't understand. If you're a cop, why do you ever, like in this type of situation, why would you want to go out of your way to pull someone out of a vehicle for a speeding ticket? Because if we're going to sit here and say, oh, well, cop safety, cop safety, cop safety, do you know how dangerous it is to try to pull someone out of a vehicle?
Cool.
Do you understand that, let's say that Tyreek, as an example, had malice in his heart and was looking to hurt somebody. You understand how easy it would have been for him to have a gun or a knife, or like, that's what cops deal with. And it's amazing to me that you have an opportunity just to conduct the traffic stop, go about your business, and everyone's safe and goes home. But this is how you want to behave.
And again, I think it's important context. I have done many ride-alongs in not good neighborhoods. And if you're one of my Bay Area listeners, East Palo Alto at 2 a.m. is what I'm talking about, with cops who show incredible bravery pulling over vehicles, who show incredible braveries. I like the San Mateo County gang unit running. I'll never forget. You guys don't care about this. I'm going to tell you anyways. There's a block in East Palo Alto that is owned by the Hells Angels. Their house is in the middle of this block. It is the nicest block in East Palo Alto in a really bad neighborhood. All the lawns are green. The houses are well kept. You don't go on that block. The block behind it and the block on the other side of it, gangland, drugland, gunland. Watching the San Mateo County gang unit chase a gang member through yards and watching them all run around that block, knowing, like, that's the kind of job we're talking about, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are not well paid. I was looking up the average salary. The average Miami-Dade police officer makes $72,000 a year. These guys are not well paid. My biggest issue here is the Miami-Dade Police, in my opinion, created a situation that was completely within their control. They had no business ripping him out of that car. He complied and gave you his license and registration. You simply should have, when he said to you, do what you have to do. I'm going to be late. Write me the ticket. Do what you have to do. You should have turned around and walked back to your bike and written him the ticket.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Done your job, and that's all. But you didn't do that. And again, before we get to your comments, which I'm terrified about today, I haven't, and I don't even want to, but I think it's important to note, what do I always tell you to do in these situations? Don't get mouthy with the police. And especially if you are a black man driving a nice car, do not get mouthy with the police. You don't, as a person of color in this country with the police, and notice that these were not white police officers. These were Latino police officers in South Florida. And you still have a young black man that gets ripped out of a car without provocation, in my opinion. What do I always tell you to do? When they come to the car, be respectful. Roll your window down. Hey, do you know why I pulled you over? I don't. Now, most states have laws where they have to tell you. Cool. Do you know how fast you're going? I don't talk to the police. Am I being detained or am I free to go? You're being detained. All right, cool. They asked for his license and registration. He did that. What are you doing here? I don't talk to the police. And if you want to say, hey, just please write me my ticket and I'll be on my way. Okay, great. That's all this needed to be. You weren't wearing your seatbelt. You were speeding. You're getting tickets for that, which they issued him tickets for that. But all this other crap where they pulled him out of the car, threw him on the ground, then stood him back up only to put an arm around his throat and throw him back on the ground while he was handcuffed, and then to stand him on the side of the road, handcuffed for everybody to watch. This was all unnecessary.
100%.
And in my opinion, it's a violation of his civil rights, which is why I think, again, he's made it pretty clear he's going to sue.
He should sue. He should sue. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm just telling you, man. And I think it's a really well-made point. Like, whether this was Tyreek Hill or not, I would be suing. And I think it makes it worse that it is Tyreek Hill because he has resources and power. And I think again, look, I'm not asking the cops to be perfect. All I'm asking for is to understand when you pull someone over that clearly is driving a car that your average, everyday American's not got access to.
On Sunday in front of an NFL stadium.
Like, you're on stadium detail. Like, I just have some perspective, have some like in the moment, like, hey, like maybe we should be, not careful, but let's just make sure we do this by the book. Make sure that we're not being hostile with it. Like, let's just make sure we execute a perfect traffic stop. That's all you got to do. It's not that hard.
It's wild to me that this went down this way. This is an incredibly difficult day and age to be a police officer.
And by the way, what's the excuse going to be? Well, I mean, when they eventually come out with whatever the reason was that they pulled him out of the vehicle, you really going to tell me that you were worried about your safety when I think it ended up being like 5 cops and one of him? Like, come on, dude. Don't sit here and tell me that a guy rolling up in a McLaren outside of Hard Rock is someone that you're scared is going to shoot you.
He identified himself. You knew who he was.
Yeah. And you can hear in the video other cops in the background saying, hey, that's Tyreek Hill. That's Tyreek Hill.
And you never touched your weapon. You never acted in a defensive manner. You were wholly in the entire situation. You were wholly on the offensive from the police officer's side of it. That's what the problem here is. And we were watching the video together before the show started. The cop took it personally when Tyreek rolled the window up.
And by the way, and we're going to get to the comments. If you're the guy today saying, oh, well, we're this many minutes into the show and you're not talking about what the thumbnail was, then go on about your day.
Yeah, Fabio, you can hit the brakes. Yeah. I don't care if it's 27 minutes into the show and no one knows who the best team in the Big 12 is.
Have a nice day, dude.
I'll never read another one of your comments. Like, it's over.
How do you have no ability to see that this conversation is now a national news leading conversation?
Yeah. You can hit the bricks, dude. That comment right there is what's wrong in our country.
I don't understand
these conversations, and I say this every day on the show, and when something like this happens, rather, if you don't have the perspective that these conversations are the ones that define us, maybe this isn't the show for you.
Yeah.
And it's what I say when we talk about politics. This isn't the show for you then, because I'm telling you that it is really important for us to have important, difficult conversations where we exchange ideas and your opinion is valuable. And it's too often in this country, not to go on some big diatribe, but it's too often in this country that we're not interested in opinions that are not our own. And it's in situations like this where we see it time and again, the same situation over and over again. Over and over again. Law enforcement versus a black guy who winds up on his chest with a knee in his back. And you're more worried about why we haven't talked about Big 12 power rankings yet with 2.5 hours to go in the show. Maybe this isn't the show for you, my guy. Maybe you just aren't. Welcome to the nightmare. Real life situations and topics need to be discussed. I'm glad this show does it on a daily basis. Yeah, I think it's hugely important. I really do appreciate having the conversation. Mike Smith, it's 29 minutes in and Jake has been a red ass for 24 of those minutes. I love this show.
I don't understand. I don't understand how people like whatever dude's name is, Forrest Ghost Fabio, or whatever the hell his name is. Like, I don't understand how you're sitting here being the, oh, well, you guys are clickbaiting, or you guys aren't talking about what the title is. Do you really think that we're not going to talk about Big 12 football today? Do you really think that it's smart for us to talk about Tyreek Hill at 7:30 instead of 6:30?
Yeah.
Like, have some perspective, dude. Maybe instead of being a know-it-all, you should ask, well, hey, why are they talking about to start the show instead of in the middle of the show? Oh, that's right, because most people show up in the 7 o'clock hour and want to talk football. So that's when we're going to talk football. And yeah, I am a red ass about these things because stuff like Tyreek Hill, stuff like this, like if I'm a cop, and I know it's easy for me to say, right? I'm not a cop. Like, I don't have their perspective. But what I can tell you is it's inexcusable to roll up to dude's car with that type of tone and that type of attitude if you're the cop.
While
that's
holding his driver's
like,
license in your hand.
You should be sued. You should lose your job. And there should be that's just what it should be.
Yeah,
it's unacceptable.
It's wild. And again, I'm just telling you, if you get pulled over, treat the cop with respect. Their job is incredibly difficult, impossibly difficult.
Yeah, and I think Tyreek should learn from this too, right?
Yes.
Like I understand the premise of, hey, you're famous, you want to roll the window up, but what I'm telling you is your sole concern is getting out of this situation as fast as possible. I think we all agree with that,
And
right?
yes, Derek, the partner didn't help the situation.
No.
When you're knocking on a window and then your partner rolls up and says, I'll break the effing thing if you don't roll it down, that's not de-escalating the situation.
And that's what I'm saying. Cops too often power trip. They lose perspective on what their job and their role in the situation is.
Yeah. The Glass City Buck. Every excuse now, it's hard to get out of the car. Have you ever sat in a McLaren? I have. And I'm not whatever Tyreek Hill's size.
5'10", 2 something.
But it was fascinating yesterday on ESPN radio. What was the conversation they were having? It's hard to get out of that car. It is hard to get out of that car.
I mean, do people really not know what these cars look like on the inside, dude?
The best part is, and I can't, it might have been Bart Scott. Somebody was saying, like, if you drive a McLaren, a Ferrari, the new Corvette is exactly like this. That car is less than a foot off the ground, and you actually have to sit down into the seat because it's a cradle seat. Like, you sink into it. So if you are not accustomed and you don't understand this, you actually have to physically press yourself out of that car. You cannot, it's all upper body strength. You cannot, like, it's almost impossible to get out and, like, put your foot on the ground sitting in the seat because the seat is above your thigh. Like, it's hard to get out of that car.
Look at this picture. I'm sending you a picture. Look at where your butt is in this seat when you're sitting in the car. Look how low to the ground your body is in this vehicle.
I love that we're having to explain how this car is built.
This is incredible to me that people are so clueless.
Look at the rail, you guys. Look at the rail that you're sitting against. This, I don't even know, this thing right here, right where my finger is, that's the frame of the car. That's the actual physical frame of the car. Look at the slope of the seat is sloped downward, so your butt is in the very back of that.
So then when you want to get in and out of the vehicle, the thing that makes that difficult is what's called the bolstering of the seat by your IT band on your leg.
The red leather thing right next to the rail is blocking your thigh. You have to, and then notice the distance from the steering wheel to the seat.
It's tiny.
You know, it's not, you're not just swinging your legs out and
This
getting out of that
this
car,
isn't
man.
a Chevy Tahoe, guy. This isn't a minivan, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible that people, and maybe it's not incredible because
It's probably not
if
incredible.
you've never sat in, any car of this ilk, McLaren, Ferrari, whatever brand, they all do this, and the reason they do this is not because it looks cool. The
No.
reason they do it is because the car is so incredibly fast and able that if you didn't have this, you would just slide around the car. You wouldn't be able to drive it.
And when you're that low to the ground, what is that rail? The actual rail of the car, the frame. It's another layer of safety. So we have a lot of supercar experience. I don't own a supercar, but as somebody that has put on cars and coffee events and been around high-end vehicles, I've sat in all of these or attempted to. Trying to sit in a Ferrari F12 is not even close to that McLaren, and it's incredibly difficult. Giggity, member for 20 months.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you, Giggity. I appreciate you talking about the real issues before sports. Thank you. I appreciate
One
that.
of our listeners, when we were doing the show in Phoenix, had a Ford GT, a new model Ford GT. I cannot explain to you how difficult in just inconvenient it is to get in and out of that car. Like, it is difficult, man.
It's why I am not a supercar guy, like a Lambo, Ferrari. I'm not that guy. But even the new Corvette, man, that thing is, your ass is inches off the pavement.
Yeah.
I'm not, I couldn't be comfortable doing it. DK gifts 5 Monty Show members.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you very much, DK. We appreciate that. Let's see, Steve Stepanek. Hey, Steve, hope you're well. The politics is a lose-lose for the police. You can never win.
By their own doing.
But again, anytime we're looking at body cam footage, who's in the wrong? Well, the cop is always in the wrong. If we're looking at, and I should say 9 out of 10 times, if we are looking at, and the amazing thing to me is ESPN's on in the background, them handcuffing Calais Campbell when it's hard to hear Calais' voice on the body cam is what they put him in handcuffs and made him get down on his knees. Do you know how large that guy is of a human being?
And that's their excuse, that he was a big dude and they wanted to make sure they kept control.
That's crazy. Crazy. Ron Nolan, cops acting badly, breaking news. But this is the issue. And again, I just ask, and I'll give the Miami-Dade Police a big tip of the cap on this. Their leadership is being incredibly forthcoming. To release body cam footage in less than 24 hours, unheard of.
Well, I think the dark side of it is we've seen this process play out so many times, and the longer you keep the footage, the longer you hide it from the public, like it just gets worse for you. Like, it just gets worse.
And the hard part is, everybody's going to say, well, Monty, he doesn't deserve special treatment because he's a dolphin. Here's the problem with that statement. You're in a very dense area because people are coming to, you have to go down that road to get into the stadium. Have to. So a lot of people are watching. Everybody and their brother in South Florida knows who Tyreek Hill is just by looking at him. So I'm asking you, if you're detailed to that stadium that day, a McLaren pulls up, are you not just assuming that's a player or somebody affiliated? So what does that mean? Just as if you pull over a 84 El Camino in East Palo Alto, California, you're going to assume it's a gang member. So you're probably walking up to the window with your gun in your hand, as I've seen 50 times in my life. As somebody who's done ride-alongs with those guys, when you believe it's somebody of danger, trust me when I tell you, your gun is in your hand right over their head. You are putting the gun on top of the car. I've seen it dozens of times. You walk up to the car with your gun in your hand, and you put that gun right on top of their head, on top of the car. That's when you think it's a drug dealer or a gang member. Did you see any of that in this footage, in this video? They never reached for their weapon. They never were in a defensive, I need to be careful here position. You're at a stadium on Sunday. If you're going to pull this guy over, do not raise your voice. Do not be confrontational. Do not threaten to break his, quote, effing window. Do not throw him on the ground. Do not rip him out of the car, then throw him on the ground, then stand him up, then throw him on the ground. Do not handcuff his teammates. You know damn well who Jonnu Smith and Calais Campbell are. I would also remind you, Jonnu Smith pulled up in a Range Rover. You're at Hard Rock Stadium. I'm not telling you they deserve special treatment. You know what I'm telling you? All eyes are on you. And if you're yelling and screaming at somebody in a McLaren sports car who you already know because you're holding his license in your hand as a Miami Dolphins player.
Yeah, that's the damning thing.
You're doing your job wrong.
Yeah.
It's not special treatment. It is smart policing. He's a mouthy little SOB. Write him his ticket. Do not give him a warning. Do not let him go up. Don't say, hey, Mr. Hill, hey, Tyreek, I need you to slow down. But go ahead, have a great day. No. Hey, sir, no problem. I need to, you were doing, I think the cop said 60.
Yeah, it was 60-something minutes,
60,
35.
You were speeding. I'm going to have to write you a ticket. You also weren't wearing a seatbelt. Hey, go back to your bike. He gave you his license and registration. This is Tyreek Hill.
And he told you, do what you got to do.
Write him the ticket. You were doing this amount. Here's the ticket. And go through the process. Here's where I need you to sign the ticket here. Here's your court date, or you can pay it. Follow the instructions on the back of the ticket.
And don't cut him any slack. Don't give him 5 off or 10 off like cops do all the time.
Hand him his tickets and then let him go about his way. And we never know this happened. We would have never heard about this. But now everybody knows about it. It's another black eye in the police, and you're going to get sued by the Miami Dolphins.
CNN with Caitlin Collins talking about this, bro. Like, this is a problem for you.
You're going to get sued.
Yeah.
Steve Stepanek, supercar owners, no matter of race, are treated like this. Watch any car YouTuber. Oh, there's no doubt about that.
All the time.
Steve, that's a great point. And yeah. It's difficult. Kay Sumbry. Hey, Kate. Good to see you. Hey, Monty. Enjoying the show thus far. Go Pokes.
We're going to talk about the Pokes today.
In the Poke media. Nathan John. I hear you, Marty. But some folks are just here to escape the real world BS and just want to talk sports. And what I say about that is these are important issues that I think we have to talk about. And I appreciate you guys being here.
And by the way, is this not sports? We're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, is it not sports?
Eric and Raleigh, most importantly, it's their effing show. It's called the Monty Show, not the rando in the comment section. But I don't disagree with that. But what I would wrap that part of this conversation around is I value everybody who's here. And I value everybody's opinion. And in times like this, I will tend to read more non-subscriber comments, non-member comments, but it always goes wrong.
Yeah.
It always goes wrong. Mike Smith, there is no law that requires one to be nice during a traffic stop. The very First Amendment allows you to complain, and cops take an oath to protect your rights. You're not wrong.
And I think that was the biggest issue. The cop took it personally.
But all I'm saying is, do you want to do it the hard way, or do you want to do it the easy way?
Yeah.
And if you are a black man in this country, you just understand you need to put your hands on the wheel, and you probably need to be respectful. Is that right? No, it's not right. It is protected free speech. We've seen it 1,000 times where you can tell the cop to F himself repeatedly and he can do nothing about it. It's when you start walking away or disobeying. If they tell you to get out of the car, you refuse to get out of the car. That's against the law. If you get pulled over, I'm telling you, have your license and your registration in your hand. I would encourage you to roll the window down, but you do you. Hand them the license and the registration, and don't answer any questions. I'm not here to talk about my day. Am I free to go, or am I being detained? And if they say you're being detained, okay, invoke the Fifth Amendment. I'm not going to answer any other questions. Can I search your car? No, you cannot. Okay, well, then you're going to need to get out of the car. Okay. Because all you're doing is trying to protect yourself. That's it. And if you're going to get into it and don't knock on my window like that, it's probably not the smartest thing in the world to say. Probably not. I understand why he wanted to roll his window up. I totally understand that. And if I was a cop in that situation, I probably wouldn't have cared that he wanted to roll his window up. It wasn't tinted. I could see through it. I know who you are. I'm going to write you a ticket. I probably wouldn't have written him a ticket. I probably would have pulled him over and I just said, hey, I understand you're trying to get to the game, but I really need you to be aware that this is a 35-mile-an-hour zone. Best of luck. Go about your business.
And I don't know, the law to the T well enough, but if he was indeed double the speed limit, I know in certain states, I don't know if this applies in this situation, they are required to ticket you for, like, I know in Phoenix, in Scottsdale specifically, there's the old conversation of, hey, if you're doing 100 on the 101, you're getting ticketed. Like, but if you're doing 85, okay, that's a different conversation.
Well, and we live in a state where I think Utah is still the #1 state for violations over 100 miles an hour. Pretty certain that Utah is the #1 state in the country for that. But my point is, if you're speeding, you should get a ticket.
Yeah.
Which is fine.